Hey, it's your girl Sarah Mac. Welcome back. This is part 2 of marriage. In part 1, you learn about the form, the matter, the minister, and the effects. So we're going to get a little deeper into it in this video. We're going to talk about the goods and requirements of married life. We're going to talk about the attacks against marriage and the marriage in the Lord. So we're just going to round it out. First up is the goods and requirements of married life. In the catechism, there's about 3 parts. They break it down. The first one is the unity and, this is long, indissolubility of marriage. I butchered that, but it's right there, okay? Yeah. The love of the spouses requires of its very nature, the unity and indissolubility of the spouse's community of person, which embraces their entire life, so they are no longer two, but of one flesh. They are called to grow continually in their communion through day-to-day fidelity to their marriage promise of total mutual self-giving. This human communion is confirmed, purified, and completed by communion in Jesus Christ through the sacrament of matrimony, and it is deepened by lives of the common faith and by the Eucharist received together. That's 644. And 646, another good and requirement of married love is the fidelity of married life. The intimate union of marriage as a mutual giving of 2 persons and the good of the children demand total fidelity from the spouses and require an unbreakable union between them. Okay, it goes on further. 1648. It can seem difficult, even impossible, to bind oneself for life to another human being. This makes it all the more important to proclaim the good news that God loves us with a definite and irrevocable love, that married couples share in this love, that it supports and sustains them, and that by their own faithfulness they can be witnesses to God's faithful love. So good. I love it. The third is the openness to fertility. All right. And that is found in 1652. By its very nature, the institution of marriage and married life is ordered to the procreation and education of the offspring, and it is in them that it finds its crowning glory. So yes, when you're married, you've got to be open to fertility. You have to be open to have kids, because that is one of the main reasons why to get married. It's not for tax purposes. It's not for a license by the state. It is to create new life. That's so nice. Isn't that nice? And then it continues on, 1653. The fruitfulness of conjugal love extends to the fruits of the moral, spiritual, and supernatural life that parents hand on to their children by education. Parents are the principal and first educations of their children. It is this sense, the fundamental task of marriage and family is to be at the service of life. You know, like I said, I'm gonna just pause on that real quick. I'm gonna let y'all think about that. Let me read it again. Parents are the principal and first educators of their children. Yeah, let that sink in. Let that imply a lot of things, but I'm gonna just read it again so that it makes sense for y'all. Parents, okay? Parents are the principal and first educators of their children. Who's the first? The parents. Okay, we're good. All right, I just had to run that back. All right, so that is the goods and requirements of married life. The attacks against marriage, and that is found in 1606. We're gonna run it. We're gonna read it. Every man experiences evil around him and within himself. This experience makes itself felt in the relationships between man and woman. Their union has always been threatened by discord, a spirit of domination, infidelity, jealousy, and conflicts that can escalate into hatred and separation. All right. And then it goes on, 1607. According to faith, the disorder we notice so painfully does not stem from the nature of man or woman, nor from the nature of the relations, but from sin. Hold on. It's from sin. Okay? As a break with God, the first sin had for its first consequence the rupture of the original communion between man and woman. Their relations were distorted by mutual recriminations, their mutual attraction. The Creator's own gift changed into a relationship of domination and lust. So when Adam and Eve messed up in the Garden of Eden, it felt they left the trail. Okay, so yeah, it's sin, not of the nature of man and woman, because who made man and woman? God. And he created us to be good. But when sin came through, it came through, and that's what messed us up. Not the nature of man and woman, but sin. Damn. All right. 1608 further goes on. Nevertheless, the order of creation persists, though seriously disturbed. To heal the wounds of sin, man and woman need the help of grace that God in his infinite mercy never refuses them. Without his help, man and woman cannot achieve the union of their lives for which God created them in the beginning. Y'all need Jesus. That's what that is. Jesus. That's what it is. Without Jesus, it's going to be really difficult, almost even impossible without Jesus in your lives when you are married. There it is. But despite all that negativity and all that sin, like I said, Jesus, is here to save. And marriage in the Lord is the positive light that you can see it. As I said before, there are many, I don't want to say comparisons, but you can definitely see Jesus and his church and a man and a woman, how they all meet in the altar, which is Eucharist, which is why Eucharist is so important. Y'all don't even know. Okay, so marriage in the Lord, 1612 says the nuptial, I am butchering these words, the nuptial, there it is, covenant between God and his people Israel had prepared the way for the new and everlasting covenant in which the Son of God, by becoming incarnate and giving his life, has united to himself in a certain way all mankind saved by him, thus preparing for the wedding feast of the Lamb. Okay, continuing on, 1613. On this threshold of his public life, Jesus performs his first sign at his mother's request during a wedding feast. The church attaches great importance to Jesus' presence at the wedding at Cana. She sees in it the confirmation of the goodness of marriage and the proclamation that henceforth marriage can be an efficacious sign of Christ's presence. So the first, I'm going to reiterate, but the first sign that we see Jesus do is at the wedding feast at Cana. And that has so much significance and so much symbolism, if you want to say, but it is truly very important to see that marriage is a visible sign that you can see. It's not something that, it's hidden somewhere in the background or whatever. No, you can see that, and that's why going to Catholic weddings are so beautiful, because there's just so much meaning into it. So yeah, I'm gonna read you a part of Scott Hahn, Signs of Life That Drives That Point. It's under the marriage section, of course, but here it is, page 68 to 69. At Cana comes the changing of water into wine, a transubstantiation that foreshadows Jesus' new covenant meal, the Eucharist, the bodily consummation of the covenant between God and his church. It is in the Eucharist that Jesus gives us his body as food, and we, God's children, share in flesh and blood. It is in the Eucharist that Jesus draws all humanity to the marriage supper of the Lamb. It is in the Eucharist that Christ can look upon the church as Adam looked upon Eve and say, "This at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh." In the Eucharist, we are made members of the wedding, each of us seated at the head table of the marriage feast that Jesus called my banquet in his parables. In the Eucharist, we enter into the depths of communion of love that God intends for each person. In baptism, each of us is betrothed to Christ. Every Eucharist is our nuptial feast. Every celebration, Augustine said, is a celebration of marriage. The church's nuptials are celebrated. The king's son is about to marry a wife, and the guests frequenting the marriage are themselves the bride, for all the church is Christ's bride. Should I drop the mic? Drop the book? Drop book. We are all the body of the church is Christ's bride. That's so beautiful. Wow. Okay, and we all meet Jesus at the altar at communion. Hello. Are y'all not mind blown out here? Well, yeah. So there you have it. That's part 2, the goods and requirements of married life, the attacks against marriage, and the marriage in the Lord. That's part 2. Make sure you check out part 1, which breaks down the basics of the Sacrament of Marriage. I hope y'all learned a lot. I know I did. Yeah, hope y'all enjoyed that. If you have any questions and I don't know it, please hit me up and I will find your answers, get those answers to you. Hope you'll have a good day. Stay safe, and have a good one. See y'all.